Chapter 523, Tragic Ending. Come on, such a beauty, so long as you're a normal man, who wouldn't be moved? Crown Prince having feelings is perfectly normal. It proves that the Eastern Zhou Crown Prince is actually a perfectly normal person. Ling Tian still had that friendly smile on his face as he took a step forward. As a man myself, I completely agree with Crown Prince's thoughts, and thus, I'll give you this chance for you to plunder a beauty. Come on, I'm just a poor and weak scholar. So long as you can kill me, you can hug the beauty in your arms. No one will stop you. Ling Tian kept his smile as he approached step by step, his gentle voice, expression and kind face now morphed into a pressuring force akin to a lofty mountain. It followed the rhythm of his footsteps, slowly crushing Dongfang Xingchen. Dongfang Xingchen seemed to have encountered a vicious spirit as he fearfully screamed, You! Don't come any closer. However stupid he might be, he would also understand when Ling Tian exuded the pressure that he was no weak scholar without the strength to truss a chicken, but rather a peerless expert of the pugilistic world. He trembled as he commanded, You dare to touch me? This prince is the Crown Prince of Eastern Zhou, the future monarch of a country. If you dare to touch a single hair of mine, you meet with the revenge of the entire country. You stand still. For this prince. Ling Tian sarcastically laughed out, Oh, I'm really scared. Your identity has been revealed just now. If that was the case, would I still have been discussing with my wife just now? As he spoke, he suddenly did an exaggerated shiver, holding his arms together as he smiled at Dongfang Xingchen, Crown Prince of Eastern Zhou. Do you want to guess whether I dare to touch you? Ha ha ha. Crown Prince, what a noble identity. With a putong sound, Dongfang Xingchen finally became scared out of his wits. He felt his entire body bereft of strength as he slipped off from his horse. He immediately rolled and crawled towards the back, trying to find a safe place to hide. Dongfang Han could only sigh in response. Previously, he did not make a move because he was hoping that this mysterious scholarly character would be restrained by the fact that they were in Eastern Zhou's territory, and that this was the Crown Prince of Eastern Zhou. After all, the pressure he exuded was not ordinary, and if there was no need to make enemies, he would rather they part on good terms. However, this scholarly-looking guy had already made it clear that he was going to make a move towards Dongfang Xingchen. If he still did not move, then whatever happened, he would not be able to escape responsibility. Thus, he immediately put himself between the both of them, saying, Sire, you're a cut above the rest, and since we've already paid the lives of 8 people, while your wife remains unharmed, is that not enough for you? Why not you just stop at this, and everyone part as friends? This would make life easier for all of us, and all of Eastern Zhou will owe you a favor. How does that sound? Dongfang Han was naturally not very good at talking with people. However, the prowess that Ling Tian showed had caused a great fear within Dongfang Han, to the point that he realized he wasn't a match for the youth in front and had to soften his approach. Make friends? Damn old fart. Are you a f-king idiot? Ling Tian hooted in ridicule. Your crown prince over there wanted to snatch my wife and even silence me. Make friends? Damn old fart, if your wife was being stolen by someone, would you go and look for the perpetrator to make friends? How about I make friends with your mother? If I didn't possess any martial arts, then would you even bring this topic up? Ling Tian could not help but be incensed and start to scold unceasingly. He was not angry over Dongfang Xingchen's sexual urges, because so long as he was present, he would be able to thwart all attempts. He was angry over the fact that his plan had almost been foiled, thus he was angry, a depressed sort of anger. Being lashed out at, Dongfang Han was naturally not in a good mood and angrily replied, Youngster, this old man is saying this for your own good. My house's crown prince might not be the best example, but he is in the end the Eastern Zhou crown prince. With just the strength of one person, how can you resist? Can you resist the force behind a whole country? You really do not know what's good for you. This old man is advising you, but you're looking for death instead. Pay. Ling Tian spat in disdain, followed by another round of scolding. Eastern Zhou's crown prince? What SHT does that count for? Old cuckold, why don't you scram to the side for this daddy right now? Daddy here doesn't want to kill you, and thus similarly, you should be more obedient. Scram. If you still continue to make this daddy unhappy, I'll make short work of you first. I have my own duties. I'm sorry for offending, but this Dongfeng hen from the Dongfeng aristocratic family will seek advice. Having been called an old BSD road, then an old cuckold, however good Dongfeng hen's temper was, it had already reached the limit. He slowly drew his sword as he solemnly spoke. Even though he spoke thus, Dongfeng hen knew that if the opponent did not even put the imperial family in his eyes, there was no way he would do the same for the Dongfeng family. He was only grabbing straws, trying to see if his own history and backing would cause some fear in his opponent. Duty? Is your duty to help your masters snatch other people's women? Offending? You tell me how offended you would be if I tried to steal your wife. But even that isn't the same as I'm not interested in your wife at all. Ling Tian laughed out sarcastically. As for the Dongfeng aristocratic family? Ha ha ha, that Dongfeng family. What a joke. You had better go back quickly for the funeral, instead of tangling with me over here. What a joke. Funeral? A bad feeling rose inside Dongfeng hen's heart. You'll naturally know once you return. I don't have any interest to speaking rubbish to you anymore. Since you're not willing to move aside, then let me help you with that. Ling Tian darkly smiled, and his figure flashed. Dongfeng hen loudly shouted and his sword thrust straight forward, but found out that he was suddenly surrounded by 8 Ling Tians all around him. Every single image was distinct and real, even to that cruel smile on their faces. All of them had their palms outstretched, ready to blast him away. Dongfeng hen lost all color in his face. He knew that this was because of the rapid movement of this peak-level expert that had left behind the various afterimages, thus he immediately thought of retreating. He knew that this skill of his opponent wasn't something he could break at his level. However, just as the thought occurred, 3 dull thuds were heard as his body received 3 palm strikes in a row. He rolled away like a calabash upon falling on the ground, vomiting copious amounts of blood as he did. Ling Tian said he would make him scram, and it turned out that Dongfeng hen was really made to roll one away. While his injuries were serious, they were not life-threatening. Ling Tian was being merciful this time, because there was some use to his life. Don't come over. Dongfeng Xingchen let out a pitiful scream, as he was kicked down on the ground by Ling Tian the moment he managed to get to his feet. Ling Tian's face hung a devilish-like smile, as he applied some force and tore Dongfeng Xingchen's robe off, while he grinned, "Your Highness Crown Prince, today, this daddy will let you feel really good. Your luck can be considered good, for this daddy here will leave you with your life. I'll leave your life behind, and I won't go back on my promise." Upon hearing that Ling Tian would not kill him, Dongfeng Xingchen became more relaxed. However, he suddenly felt a breeze brushing across his body, and realized that he was completely nude in the open. Behind him, Zhou Yanzu let out a squeal, and closed her eyes as she scolded, "Damn pervert, smelly hooligan, who asked you to do this?" Ling Tian was depressed as he thought to himself, "If I don't strip him, how am I going to perform the operation? Wasn't that your commands, miss? Why am I being scolded as a pervert even though I've done as you asked? You! What do you want to do?" Dongfeng Xingchen used his hands to cover his important parts, suddenly feeling as though something was wrong. Could it be that this expert had some homosexual fetish, and suddenly fell for him? If not, why would he strip him of his clothes? If Ling Tian knew his thoughts, most likely he would have slapped down straight. Such a toothpick-like small object, Yet you're protecting it like some treasure. It should have been removed a long time ago, to save you on the embarrassment." Ling Tian looked down, wrinkling his nose in distaste. "I'll do you a favor today, and please remember not to bring it out the next time to embarrass yourself." Before Dong Feng Chen could show any reaction, Ling Tian's hands had flashed, and small and exquisite dagger had appeared in his palm, unhesitatingly slashing down. "Ah, ah!" Dong Feng Chen's screams could be heard echoing throughout the entire area, his mournful screams reaching the maximum. Below his thighs, blood had already formed a pool, starting to spread out. A pair of tiny egg-shaped things was thrown off from the edge of Ling Tian's dagger. Thinking for a while, Ling Tian decided that he did not have enough fun and poked his dagger again, removing another portion. "Isn't it just a small operation? Look at you, screaming and wriggling so intensely. Be calm. You need to endure, you know that?" Ling Tian cast a look of disdain, as he wiped his dagger on several places all over his body, in the process creating over 10 different trails of blood. Before he finally put away his dagger. "It looks like, other than running in the nude, our crown prince had no other way to go back to the city." Ling Tian slowly straightened his back, speaking in a stately voice. "It's good that you are inside the palace, or else it would be difficult for you in the future. Talk to the workers in the palace more often, on how to relieve yourself and so on. It will definitely be different from the past." Dong Feng Chen already had a forehead full of sweat, without even the strength to call out. However, Ling Tian had infused a small amount of energy to him, such that he remained clear-headed without the ability to faint even if he wanted. Seeing their master get castrated and turned into a eunuch in front of them, all the guards started to sweat profusely. Over 100 pairs of legs started shaking at once, as though someone was using their legs to play the lute. They knew that once this matter was reported, it would spell their deaths, but none present dared to lift a finger to deal with this frightening scholar. A few of the more frightened ones even lost control of themselves, and started to wet their pants. Sounds of trickling water could be heard. Ling Tian heartily laughed out, floating up without looking back and landing on his own horseback, as he shouted out, "Delightful! Truly delightful! This is the outcome for those who want to steal the wives of others." Chapter 524, Return Journey. With a carefree laughter, Ling Tian floated onto his horse without turning back. "Wonderful! Wonderful! This is the outcome of you trying to snatch someone's wife." He then turned around and said gently, "My dear wife, the matters have been settled, and even if Crown Prince Dong Feng wants to snatch the wife of another in the future, he won't have the ability to do so. Shall we leave?" Zhou Yanzu responded with a soft and the hands covering her face tightly eased up slightly. At the same time, her face flushed red upon hearing Ling Tian call her "my dear wife." Ling Tian then laughed heartily and grabbed the reins of Zhou Yanzu's horse in his hands. With a light kick, both the horses began galloping forward. Seeing how the guards in front of him were standing in a daze, Ling Tian exploded forth with killing intent and shouted, "Are the rest of you not going to form up into a formation to send my wife and I off? Do you still want to compare notes with me?" Zhou Yanzu burst out laughing and scolded, "Darn tyrant." However, the way she looked at this darn tyrant was filled with love and care. The dozens of guards in front of Ling Tian trembled involuntarily and obediently split up into two groups. Their actions were extremely stiff, as though they were wooden puppets. "A bunch of idiots. The goose-winged formation. Don't you guys know what the goose-winged formation is? A bunch of useless idiots." Ling Tian scolded, looking like a military instructor flaunting his prestige in the camps. He then left toward the horizon with Zhou Yanzu by his side. Along the way, Zhou Yanzu had a big smile and was obviously in an extremely good mood. From time to time, she would look at Ling Tian sweetly with happiness welling up in her heart. Her beloved man had finally stood up to protect her today. Furthermore, his fury had also shown how much he cared for her. Thinking about that, Zhou Yanzu grinned from ear to ear. Zhou Yanzu was truly satisfied to see the lecherous profligate being taught such a miserable lesson. Tian''G.T, you are truly so mighty. Zhou Yanzu flattered. Cough cough. Ling Tian began coughing incessantly. In his memory, the word mighty shouldn't be used in this manner. After teaching this PST road a lesson today, we shall see if he still dares to go out and snatch ladies. Zhou Yanzu was full of joy and made a funny face at Ling Tian's frowning expression. Even if he wants to snatch the ladies, he doesn't have any tool to use. Ling Tian burst out laughing. What is the point of talking about such trash? Hee, Tian''G.T, I love it the most when you stand up for me. Zhou Yanzu looked as though she was eager to jump onto Ling Tian's horse. When we are at sky bearing, shall we find a few more profligate young masters to teach them a lesson? Ling Tian rolled his eyes. Lass, the number one profligate young master in sky bearing is right before your very eyes. Ah. That's right. Ha ha ha. Only then did Zhou Yanzu remember about Ling Tian's fame and burst out laughing. Ling Tian looked at this reckless lass beside him. You still want to teach the profligate young masters of sky-bearing a lesson? When we are at sky-bearing, this profligate young master here shall eat you up. In front of them was the entrance to a mountain pass, and after this mountain pass, the road would be split into 3 directions. One would be to sky-bearing, the other northern way, and the last towards the southeast direction. If Ling Tian went along the path towards sky-bearing, he would be on his way home. All of a sudden, Ling Tian halted his horse and said, "Stop. A large group of troops is approaching on horse. I wonder where they are coming from?" Zhou Yanzu hurriedly stopped her horse and looked at Ling Tian with a pair of doubtful eyes. With Ling Tian's cultivation and inhumane hearing, he was able to hear the troops who were coming from afar. The rumbling sound of horses coming from the southeastern direction. Could they be from the Zhou family? This was Ling Tian's first guess. Thinking about Zhou Yanzu's identity, Ling Tian had no choice but to be careful. After all, this lass had escaped from her house. Looking at her, Ling Tian said solemnly, "They are coming from the southeastern direction and there are 400 to 500 men." Ah! Zhou Yanzu grew flustered, then. "Let us hide first." Ling Tian was elated in his heart. This lass was indeed afraid. The two of them then swiftly hid behind a few trees at a bend. While they would be able to see the incoming troops clearly, if the incoming troops did not purposely turn their head around, it would be impossible to spot them. In order to be safe, Zhou Yanzu hastily covered both Ling Tian and her face up with a mask. The sound of the horses' hooves rumbled and a group of more than 100 horses galloped past them towards the road heading to Northern Way's bright Jade City. They came and left like the wind, kicking up a huge dust cloud behind them. Zhou Yanzu stared at the passing troops without blinking and a change of expression could be seen on her face. Ling Tian whispered in her ears, "Are they familiar?" Even though the current atmosphere was extremely tense, Zhou Yanzu almost burst out laughing. Just what was Ling Tian asking? Rolling her eyes at him, Zhou Yanzu replied, "They are from my family. These men are the hidden forces of my family. The first few who passed by us are their leaders and all have the surname Meng. Isn't that a strange surname? I don't think you will be able to find this surname among the commoners." Ling Tian then muttered, "Your family is probably unable to order these men around, right?" Zhou Yanzu's eyes widened in shock. "How did you know? They are indeed a special bunch." Ling Tian only responded with a smile. When these troops went past them, Ling Tian could already tell that these troops were definitely the elites of the elites. From the dense killing intent emanated from each of them and the resolute eyes of every soldier, they were probably trained to be death troops. Furthermore, each and every single soldier had a decent attainment of martial arts, with the cultivation of the few in front being exceptional. These men were probably the secret force trained by above heavens over the years. Zhou Yanzu let out a breath and was about to stand back up, only to be pressed down by Ling Tian. Wait. There are more. Following that, another group of troops rushed past them, and only after a full 5 groups went by did the place fall back into silence. Ling Tian watched the departing troops with a solemn expression and asked, "How many of such men does your family have?" Zhou Yanzu frowned for a moment and calculated in her heart before giving an uncertain response. "About 5,000? Perhaps more, but I know that there are at least 5,000 of them. After all, I do not really come into contact with these things." Ling Tian responded with an "oh" before falling silent. Then an idea came to his head. Why are these people going to Northern Wei at such a time? Furthermore, all of them are so filled with killing intent. Ling Tian began to laugh weirdly. Zhou Yanzu asked curiously, "What are you laughing at?" "Nothing much." Ling Tian chuckled and began singing, "Let's go home." "Darn it." Zhou Yanzu rolled her eyes at Ling Tian. Thinking about how they were about to reach sky-bearing, Zhou Yanzu realized that she would definitely have to meet old Madame Ling and Ling Tian's mother. What would they think of a lady like her following Ling Tian back at that time? Thinking about that, Zhou Yanzu grew nervous in her heart, and the thought of interrogating Ling Tian had completely disappeared. After they traveled for some distance, Ling Tian frowned, placed his finger in his mouth and let out a loud whistle which startled Zhou Yanzu. Following that, Ling Tian let out a strange tone which was sometimes high-pitched and sometimes low-pitched. Zhou Yanzu was at a complete loss. Did my beloved man suddenly go crazy? Just when she was in a state of anxiousness, a black figure dove down from the sky and a black hawk landed on Ling Tian's shoulders. It turns out that Ling Tian had discovered the arrival of this hawk and thus let out a unique tune to summon it. The hawk perched itself on Ling Tian's shoulders firmly with its eyeballs rolling about in a mischievous manner. Zhou Yanzu felt that it was extremely adorable and wanted to raise her hand to stroke it. However, the moment she raised her hand up, the hawk stretched its wings and lowered its beak as though it was about to peck on her hand. Startled, Zhou Yanzu quickly retracted her hand. Ling Tian burst out laughing and knocked the hawk lightly on the head, and the hawk cried out with a tinge of dissatisfaction. While Zhou Yanzu grew more and more fond of the hawk, she did not dare to touch it. Ling Tian stretched out his hand and grabbed the small hawk into his hands. The hawk then let out an obedient and helpless look but did not resist at all, allowing Ling Tian to retrieve a small bamboo container from its leg. After Ling Tian let go of it, it let out a clear cry and disappeared into the distance like a bolt of black lightning. Looking at the departing hawk, Zhou Yanzu looked to the sky with a face full of envy. Ling Tian laughed out loud and said, "If you really like it that much, I can find a few baby hawks to accompany you when we are back at sky-bearing." Zhou Yanzu burst out into cheers and quickly agreed with what Ling Tian said. Ling Tian shook his head helplessly and took out a slip of rolled-up note from the bamboo container. After unrolling it carefully, Ling Tian was certain that the handwriting on it belonged to Miss Li Zhu. After all, not a single person in this generation would probably have a handwriting as ugly as hers. Such a beautiful lady with such a wonderful upbringing and literary depth. To think that the young princess of an aristocratic family from his previous life would actually have such hideous handwriting. It was just unimaginable how this lady of 2 lifetimes did not have any improvements in her handwriting. Furthermore, she was writing with a lead pencil. How should we take care of the Shui family BSTRDS? There wasn't anything before or after those words and only these 10 words. It was the classic Li Zhu style. I wonder how those Shui family fellows provoked this female demoness? To think that they were able to anger her to such an extent. Ling Chen had always been the person in charge of contacting him in the Ling family courtyard, and Li Zhu must have been truly incensed for her to contact him personally. Furthermore, she also displayed her supernatural and uncanny penmanship and used simplified Chinese. Even if someone were to intercept this note, it would be impossible for anyone else to recognize the words on it. It was only because of Ling Tian's robust literary education from his previous life that he was able to understand what was written on it. Ling Tian was extremely curious. It seems that it may be the right time for me to return. Seeing the weird expression on Ling Tian's face, Zhou Yanzu could not help but grow nervous and asked, "Did something happen?" Ling Tian chuckled, "Nothing big. But we will have to rush back quickly or someone will be unable to sit still." At the same time, Ling Tian was confident that even if anything happened, Li Zhu, Ling Chen and Ling Jian would definitely be able to handle it without any issue. Even if the men from above heavens came to attack them, they would only suffer in the hands of these three experts. The only reason why Li Zhu was so frustrated was probably because the Shui family still had other uses to him and it wasn't appropriate for her to teach them a lesson lest she spoil his plans. Chapter 525, Shui Family Members. Seeing Zhou Yanzu's look of worry, Ling Tian could not help but be moved in his heart. Then, he suddenly pulled Zhou Yanzu over from her horse and gave her a kiss on the cheek. At the same time, he kicked his horse and roared out loudly, "I, Hu Han-san, am back again." 1. Amid Zhou Yanzu's complaining, the two horses gradually disappeared into the distance. If Li Zhu was really mad, the consequences would be dire. Ling Tian knew that someone would definitely be in trouble for sure. This great aunt's methods were truly devious and merciless. Anyone who provoked her would definitely not have a good ending. Ling Jian was cool enough but was toyed with to the point that he almost cried. Ling Chen's status was high enough, but she was still forcefully trained. Even if Ling Tian was around, if he accidentally provoked her, he would definitely be taught a good lesson as well. A ferocious character like her was one that no one dared to provoke. In this period of time, the horrendous behavior of the Shui family members made Li Zhu and Ling Chen to be fed up to the extreme. These two women had truly witnessed firsthand what the saying "incapable of accomplishing anything and only capable of ruining things" meant. If not for the fact that the two ladies had to consider the effects these people had on Ling Tian's plans, the two of them would have definitely slaughtered all of the Shui family members. The two ladies had actually agreed on this point with complete harmony. At the same time, under the patient guidance of Li Zhu, Yu Bingyan also had some accomplishment in melding martial arts into painting and painting into martial arts. She was currently in a state of sudden enlightenment and was cultivating in seclusion. It wasn't surprising to see her disappear for a few days, and she was fully focused on her painting and martial arts only. This carefree lifestyle of hers had made both Ling Chen and Li Zhu extremely envious. After Ling Chen and Shui Qianru had fixed the plan in the courtyard, Shui Qianru excitedly returned to where her Shui family was residing and gathered her cousins and elders to discuss the matter. After describing the plan of working together with the Ling family to ambush the returning Yu family's forces, she never imagined that her three cousins and the 6 elders were completely disinterested in the matter. It was as though she had been doused with a bucket of water. "Since both of our families are working together, why won't the Ling family send any men? If our Shui family is to be fully in charge of assaulting the Yu family's troops, wouldn't it be equivalent to working for the Ling family? Are you trying to trick a little child?" These were the original words of Shui Qianru. "Since we are working together, both parties must display their sincerity. On what basis can the Ling family not send any men but only provide us with information? Do they take us to be blind and deaf, incapable of getting information on our own? Don't they know that we can also send out our scouts? What is the point of working with the Ling family if they aren't going to contribute anything?" These were Shui Qianjiang's words. Furthermore, the Ling and Yu families are in-laws in name, so how would we know if this is just a plan to trap our Shui family? We have to be extremely cautious at this moment, and it doesn't pay to be careless. This was Shui Qianhai. Even if their information is extremely accurate and they have the sincerity to work with us, the Ling family is only a nouveau riche family that we can wipe out with a snap of our fingers. What right do they have to work with us? Alliance partners? Is their Ling family even worthy? Qianru, you and your brother made a mistake when deciding to form an alliance with the Ling family. We are a family that has been around for 1,000 years, and not any random family is fit to work together with us. The two of you have truly thrown the face of our Shui family. This was what a few of the elders said. These old men were obviously still holding on to the former glory of the Shui family and were unfamiliar with the present circumstance of the world. Only the fifth elder did not say anything nasty, but said in a solemn tone, "We are in the midst of chaotic times and this matter must be discussed further. We cannot make rash decisions." Shui Qianru felt an endless grief and disappointment. For herself, for the people in front of her, and for the Shui family. 1,000-year legacy, 1,000 years of glory, and 1,000 years of stability. Why have things developed to such a state? Why doesn't anyone in the family have any foresight? Why are they all so arrogant and full of themselves? Such a family was far too different from the ideal family that she was loyal to in her heart. Complete disappointment. This was her only feeling. The Ling family isn't worthy? Then who is? In truth, probably the Ling family is the one who has the right to say you aren't worth to form an alliance with my Ling family in the Heavenly Star continent. To think that her Shui family actually had the cheek to say that the Ling family wasn't worthy. Wasn't that too foolish of them? Who was the one who isn't worthy? Discuss the matter further? The Yu family members would retreat in 3 to 5 days' time. How long were they going to discuss the matter? Discuss the matter until the point where the Yu family is safely tucked into their beds in Bright Jade City before taking action? What was the point of the mission then? Was it for us to go out and be slaughtered? The Shui family had 1,000 years of foundation and was the #1 family of the Heavenly Wind continent. When were they reduced to such a state? Was it because they could rule over the Heavenly Wind continent smoothly without anyone to oppose them? Were they no longer used to forming an alliance of equal status? Shui Qianru even heard the suggestion to wait for Ling Tian's safe return to sky-bearing before talking about an alliance. When she heard those words, Shui Qianru really felt helpless to the extreme. If they were to wait for Ling Tian to return, perhaps it wouldn't be an alliance anymore, but their Shui family would be toyed within the palm of Ling Tian's hand from the beginning to the end. At the end of the alliance, all of them might end up having to stay behind in sky-bearing forever. Was Ling Tian someone who was so easily dealt with? Admittedly, while the Ling family did indeed have the upper hand in the current alliance with her Shui family, the circumstances before them forced them to accept such terms and they were helpless against it. First, their Shui family troops had to rely on the Ling family for food, a place to stay, and the concealment of their whereabouts. To put it in a nasty way, if their Shui family were to leave the Ling family, even if they had a multitude of martial arts experts, they were blind and deaf in the Heavenly Star continent. Furthermore, Shui Qianru still needed to rely on the Ling family to protect her brother, Shui Qianhuan. Just based on these 2 points alone, Shui Qianru was definitely willing to accept slight losses to form this alliance with the Ling family. Apart from these 2 points, there was a third, most important, point. The ones who they were forming an alliance with currently was the Ling family courtyard with Ling Chen at the helm. While Ling Chen wasn't someone easy to deal with either, it was still far easier to deal with her than Ling Tian. After all, she was now sworn sisters with Ling Chen and everything could be discussed. Even if she were to suffer some losses, it wouldn't be because of some insidious scheme. Thus, Shui Qianru did indeed wish for Ling Tian's return to be delayed. The moment Ling Tian returned to sky-bearing, things definitely wouldn't be the same anymore. That person was at least 100 times more frightening than Ling Chen. Even if that guy went crazy and killed all 1,000 of their Shui family troops, Shui Qianru wouldn't be surprised at all. Ling Tian was someone who had never played his cards in a normal way. At the same time, Shui Qianru had never seen him suffer a loss before. But when she reported everything to the members of the Shui family in front of her, including everything that had happened, had not happened, or would possibly happen, they all mocked her for exaggerating the facts to cover up her faults. They still felt that Ling Tian was just the infamous profligate young noble of sky-bearing. Seeing the people in front of her talking about the situation of the continent with a face full of confidence, with their spittle flying in all directions and ambition oozing out of their every action, Shui Qianru's final glimmer of hope disappeared completely. At this moment, this strong and stubborn lady felt an endless despair and helplessness. Just when Shui Qianru felt tired of all this and wanted to leave the premise quietly, Shui Qianru looked towards her with a profound look. "Younger sister, I heard that this #1 profligate young master in sky-bearing is extremely charming and has an exceptional elegance. I wonder if this is truly the case?" Shui Qianru looked at him and replied emotionlessly, "What does second cousin mean by that?" Shui Qianru chuckled and a look of mockery could be seen in his eyes. "I heard that younger sister had met young noble Ling Tian on multiple occasions and hated the fact that you did not know him earlier. The two of you would usually talk through the night and were inseparable like glue. I believe that younger sister must be very worried about him upon hearing the news that he is being chased by the martial order medallion owner," Shui Qianru said with an eccentric tone. Shui Qianru raised her head up and retorted, "Rubbish." At the same time, tears began welling up in her eyes. "For the family, I did so many things that went against my conscience and even personally attempted to assassinate my beloved man. On top of that, I even plotted against his family and was scolded by him in my face while witnessing his killing intent and hatred for me. The rift between the two of them had fractured to the point it was irreversible, and all of this filled Shui Qianru with despair and grief. The only thing that kept her going was the loyalty towards her family. However, to think that someone from her family would actually accuse her in such a manner?" A trace of jealousy could be seen in Shui Qianru's eyes as he said coldly, "Nonsense? Younger sister, we must have struck your sore spot, right? For you to be so stubborn about working with that small and insignificant family as well as how you fought so hard for the benefits of the Ling family, do you already treat yourself as a member of the Ling family? Are you trying to be a virtuous daughter-in-law of the Ling family?" Shui Qianru was angered to the point her body began trembling and her eyes turned red. "Shui Qianzhong, the lot of you better not malign me. I have always been open and upright in my actions and I would never be so despicable as to betray the family." "Despicable? Ha ha ha." Shui Qianhuan laughed evilly, "This matter has already spread throughout the family in Heavenly Wind and there isn't anyone unaware about this matter. You also know that this is a despicable action? How can you even have the face to say those words? Just how much energy and resources did the family exhaust to groom you for the past 10+ years? How many precious medicines and herbs did the family use to raise your strength? Now that your wings are fully grown and you have found a groom, do you remember what it means to betray the family? Do you dare to say that you aren't fond of that profligate Ling Tian? My heart has not changed, and I have never done anything that betrayed the interests of the family. I, Shui Qianru, swear to the heaven that if I did anything that betrayed the family, I will be willing to face the family punishment of being torn apart by 5 horses and die a horrible death." "Ha ha ha. What a good oath. You are the daughter of the present family head. When would the punishment of being torn apart by 5 horses be used on you? You actually dare to take out such a pitiful oath to scare us. Shui Qianru, why don't you dare to answer my answer directly? Do you know that your current words are extremely despicable?" Chapter 526, Unceasing Power Struggles. You guys are spouting nonsense." Shui Qianru's maid, Dear, finally rushed out. "The little princess has suffered so much torture under Ling Tian just for our family and received so much suffering. But you guys cannot even separate good from bad, and berate her as such. Where is your conscience? Are you people still human?" Dear felt her entire body tremble from rage, pointing at Shui Qiangang and the rest. Her eyes were already bloodshot with anger as she spewed non-stop. Audacious. This is an internal family meeting, and the decisions are made by the family members. Just who do you think you are? A mere servant girl dares to raise her voice here? Does this place have room for you to talk? Come, men, drag her out and beat her to death. Shui Qianhu scolded in agitation. Never in his dreams would he think that a mere servant girl would have the audacity to point at his nose and scold him. Was she tired of living? Who dares? Shui Qianru stepped forward at this time, protecting dear as she raised her own voice. She's my maid. Since when was it your turn to lecture her? Shui Qianhu, what do you think you are? I'm nothing at all, but still better than that babbling slut over there. Just based on how your subordinates dare to be so unbridled, there's nothing much that can be said for you as well. Why, do you think you're qualified to lecture me? Shui Qianhu snarled, slapping the table as he stood up. You're right, you're nothing at all actually. Just based on what you have, how would I even bother to deal with you? If you really wish to seek death, then this lady here will grant you your wish. If you want to touch my maid, just you Shui Qianhu, you're not worthy. Shui Qianru did not give in at all, a fire blazing in her eyes. Shui Qianhu laughed out maliciously, you think I'm scared? Bring it on. We'll compare our moves. The two of them drew their swords from their sheath and moved out towards the courtyard. A fight with their lives on the line. Presumptuous. Are all of you rebelling? The first elder slapped the table in anger. Creating such a fuss, whatever is next? Do you guys still place this old man in your eyes? With this shout, both fighters stopped completely but still continued to stare daggers at each other, just like cocks fighting for dominance. HMPH. Shui Qianhuan was mediocre and incompetent, causing our hidden forces of over a decade to be completely uprooted by our millennium-long enemies. He himself even barely survived by a fluke. To think that this trash of a sister is even better, to curry favor to her love, she even sold out the entire Shui family. You brother and sister pair are really geniuses. On one side, Shui Qianzhong spoke with a weird tone, attempting to fan the flames. All shut your mouths for this old man. The first elder yelled once again. Did we travel over 1,000 miles to hear you guys quarrel? Bickering like children, how scandalous, how are you people showing to others the bearing of an aristocrat? Then I would like to seek advice from First Elder. Since your honorable self mentioned that you have traveled a long distance to reach here, then if I may be so bold, what is the purpose of all of you traveling across the oceans to here? You do not wish to go against the Yu family, and yet also do not wish to work with the Ling family. As such, what is the purpose of you people coming over to Heavenly Star? Why come to sky bearing? Shui Qianru almost wanted to cry out in anger, but she held back her tears, forcing out the words. The first elder indifferently glanced at Shui Qianru, snorting before he spoke, we'll definitely go against the Yu family in time, and as for working with the Ling family, I cannot just take it based on your words. The matter is too serious, and I have to personally meet with the people in command of the Ling family. We will have to revise the collaboration. Just based on the previous method you've detailed, our Shui family will never be able to accept such a humiliating cooperation, without benefits. Shui Qianru's heart turned cold at this moment, and she despairingly replied, First Elder's words mean that you do not believe in Qianru anymore? The family is rejecting my proposal now? A callous reply greeted her, this old man did not mean it that way, but now that I'm responsible for all the manpower in skybearing, and also the one in command, I have to ensure the safety of our people as well as their benefits. I cannot let them sacrifice themselves blindly, as a dowry for others. Shui Qianhai shouted out joyously, First Elder is indeed a person of virtue and moral standing, treating everyone partially. What a good not willing to sacrifice themselves as dowry for others, this is really apt. He. Shui Qianru was already angered to the extreme, but instead started laughing, coldly replying, "Since that's the case, then I'll inform the Ling family courtyard and tell them that for the cooperation between us, my brother and I are completely pulling out. From today onwards, this brother and sister will wash our hands of any matters. And we'll immediately return back to the Heavenly Wind continent, never to come to Heavenly Star again." "Impossible." Shui Qianzhong rejected flatly. "Who would know whether you have anyone hidden among us already? You can choose not to talk or express your opinions, but you and Shui Qianhuan are not allowed to leave. The majority of us came because of your so-called proposal, so at this moment, you want to absolve yourself of all your problems by leaving? How can it be so simple? Not just that, for the cooperation previously, it was between you and the Ling family courtyard. However, now that we're here, we want to work with the entire Ling family, and not just some Ling family courtyard. Don't think that any Tom, Dick, or Harry has the qualifications to work with us just because they want to. The small courtyard doesn't have that ability. Even the Ling family can only serve as our subordinates, and for them to do so is already a great honor." Shui Qianhai hooted. "Up to you guys then, whatever the case, I'll wash my hands of it." Shui Qianru stood up, weary in body and soul. She looked at them in despair as she turned to leave. "Stop! Where do you think you're going?" Shui Qianhu stretched out an arm, ready to obstruct her. Shui Qianru immediately lashed out, "I wish to return to my room to rest. Do I need your permission? Are you going to bind me up in chains?" Shui Qianhu, get the FK off. Shui Qianru had already reached her limits, and boundless pressure was released from her body. She could no longer control her temper, and if Shui Qianhu spoke yet another word, she would not hesitate to cripple this idiot where he stood. Feeling her immense strength, everyone present stared at her with some astonishment. Shui Qianzhong smirked and replied, "So long as sister does not run around, then how would we dare to track you? Qianhu, let her go." Shui Qianhu consented and moved aside. Shui Qianru only coldly snorted at them, before leaving with her head held high. Behind her, the rest exchanged glances in delight, as though celebrating their success in this first battle. Shui Qianru rushed towards her brother's room in a temper. At the entrance, a grave and stern youth in black smiled as he watched her come over, and remarked, "The Shui family is really enthusiastic." It was none other than Ling Qi. Shui Qianru, however, ignored him and went straight inside, while Deer glared at Ling Qi, nastily replying, "Watched a good show, right? If it wasn't for your good young noble, how would our miss suffer such injustice?" Ling Qi was taken aback, and could only awkwardly laugh to cover up, "I didn't watch, I merely listened, and it was quite the good show. Wait, what has this got to do with my young noble? Watch where you bite." Suddenly a yelp was heard, as that little lass suddenly launched herself towards Ling Qi in anger, taking a good bite out of Ling Kai's arm. "Damn it, I only said that in passing, must you really bite? Are you a dog?" Ling Qi exasperatedly shook her off and saw a row of obvious spite marks on his arm. The pain made him take a cold breath, and seeing Deer delightedly walk into the room, Ling Qi made up his mind to go report to his sister Chen when he returned, to deploy another here. He had enough. From the room came the suppressed sobbing of Shui Qianru. Strong-willed she might be, she was still a lady, and to suddenly have all the suspicion and distrust of her family on her, doubting her blood and sweat, it was all too heavy for her. As such, the moment she saw the face of her brother, she could take it no longer, and poured it all out. Shui Qianhuan coughed in agitation, planning to push his body to seek revenge on those who humiliated his sister. He was already seriously injured, and with the invasion of bacteria along with the constant jeering and humiliation he received, even with the meticulous care from a doctor, his body was deteriorating. Today, under his anger, he nearly couldn't catch his breath and coughed repeatedly for quite a while. Most likely, he was going to cough out blood again. Shui Qianru lost her composure at the scene, ignoring her own sadness to comfort her brother. She constantly soothed his chest, and it was only after a long while did he finally show signs of calming down. She did not dare to talk about her own grievances any longer, choosing the time when she was alone to shed tears silently. She grieved that while the world was wide, with so many people around her, there was actually no one to lend her a shoulder. Upon thinking about Ling Tian, that sweetheart yet destined foe, she felt even more of a heartache. While she liked him very much, how could she deal with him not having any feelings towards her? Oh heavens! What should she do? On the second day, Shui Qianhu and the rest swaggered over to the Ling family in Sky Bearing, wanting to look for old Master Ling Zan to negotiate about collaboration and to the point of making the Ling family their subordinate family. In their thoughts, old Master Ling should have fallen to the ground in gratitude, bowing deeply to welcome them. However, things did not go according to their wishes. Not only did they not manage to see the old master, they had to talk to the old madam who greeted them with a cold expression the whole time. She only clearly spoke one sentence, that the current Ling family had handed all the authority over to Ling Tian and Ling family courtyard. The Ling residence within the capital was just a place for them to live their remaining days in peace and quiet. After finished her piece, the old madam did not even wait for them to talk but sent them off immediately. Seeing the look of the Ling family residence, they also understood that the base of operations was now in the Ling family courtyard. Thus they could only slink out in defeat. They actually thought of looking for Grand Marshal Ling Zhou, but they were only told that Ling Zhou had gone on a military campaign instead. This was a situation where when the house has a leaky roof, there would definitely be a torrential downpour. The dejected group actually met a group of Yu family warriors on their way back, and both sides fought with injuries and deaths. Even Shui Qian, who had been slashed once on his arm with a sword, almost turning him into a cripple. It was only by a fluke he managed to escape. When they returned to report, the elders then realized that Shui Qian's statement might not be false at all, and could only then send an invite over to the Ling family courtyard, requesting for the commander to talk terms with them.
Chapter 527, Parting on Bad Terms. With regards to the Shui family, both Ling Tian and Li Zhu were extremely displeased. However, on account of the fact that the Shui family members had come here from afar, the two ladies discussed for a moment before choosing to give the Shui family some face. That day, Li Zhu, Ling Tian, and the fully recovered Ling Jian went together. It could be said to be giving Shui Qian a great deal of face. However, before the negotiations even began, Ling Jian had almost drawn his sword to kill. Both parties had fallen out with each other. It was for no other reason other than the three Shui brothers being unable to control themselves when they saw that the partners of their cooperation were actually two country-toppling beauties like Ling Tian and Li Zhu. After finally being able to control themselves, they could not help but begin flirting. The three brothers felt that with their status as a Shui family member, coming from one of the two greatest families on the three continents, cooperating with the Ling family was already far beneath their status. Now that they had their eyes on the Ling Tian and Li Zhu, with a difference between their status, wouldn't getting those two ladies be as easy as beckoning their fingers? As such, the words of the three Shui brothers were extremely frivolous and they even showed signs of wanting to put their hands on them. Before Li Zhu or Ling Tian could blow up, Ling Jian, who followed them there, flew into a rage. With a single slap, he sent the most arrogant Shui Qianhu flying and made him lose a few of his teeth. Before Shui Qianhu could get back up, Ling Jian stepped on him and pressed him onto the ground. According to Ling Jian's intention, Shui Qianhu should just be executed. After both parties did all they could to dissuade Ling Jian, they finally managed to save Shui Qianhu's wretched life. However, it was already impossible for both parties to talk about cooperation at this moment and they parted on bad terms. Before the Shui brothers left, Ling Jian had shouted out arrogantly, "If you guys still want to talk about a cooperation, it is best for all of you to behave obediently. If you guys don't want to talk about a cooperation, then scram out of Skybearing quickly. Before the three Shui brothers could even retort against what Ling Tian had said, Ling Tian made a new decision. The Ling family would not be in charge of the meals and accommodations of the Shui family. Every member of the Shui family must pay 50 taels of silver for food and accommodation. If they couldn't afford it, then they should scram. Just when the Shui family members had flared up in anger and a huge fight was about to break out, the world-famous first pavilion had unsheathed his sword and diced up a gigantic tree 100 feet away into a pile of firewood. He then raised his sword towards the Shui family members and glared at them coldly. The Shui family members immediately went silent from fear. Especially Shui Qian, who had just escaped death, felt thankful in his heart. If not for the fact that he was injured by Ling Tian, he would have definitely struggled, and at that time, he would have probably turned into firewood. While there were many experts of the Shui family who came this time, not a single one of them could match Ling Tian's attainment of the sword. The might of the sword had completely stunned the Shui family members. Then, this world-famous assassin pointed his sword at the three Shui brothers and said arrogantly, "If you guys want to continue this discussion, pick another date and be sure to behave obediently. If you guys don't want to continue this discussion, pay up and scram. If any one of you dares to look at the two ladies in a lecherous way or flirt with them, this daddy here doesn't mind cutting off their tongue or gouging out their eyeballs." Facing Ling Tian's majestic might, all the members of the Shui family, including the 6 elders, became extremely obedient and did not dare to even display a trace of anger. Broken Bar. Their previous arrogance was also completely thrown out of the window of Broken Bar. Before they came to their senses, Ling Tian had already escorted the 2 misses away. Ling Tian's actions were undeniably extremely refreshing to Shui Qian. Seeing the pitiful appearance of her 3 cousins, Shui Qian felt overjoyed as she gloated over their demise. It had taken her all the strength she had to prevent herself from bursting out laughing. With their prestige no more and face all gone, the Shui family members silently went back to their temporary residence. Despite it being a short 1-hour meeting, this short hour had given them an unbelievable amount of shock. Who would have thought that the Ling family that they had always looked down upon as a third-rate aristocratic family would have an expert at such a level? This was something that they had never imagined. The single sword strike that Ling Tian had just displayed was far too shocking. Such martial arts and such swordplay was something that even their 1,000-year-old family would find difficult to match. In the eyes of Shui Qian, Shui Qianzhang and the other elders, Ling Tian's martial arts were at the level of the Shui family's top-notch experts. If they wanted to find someone capable of suppressing Ling Tian, probably only their number 1 expert of the family, Shui Wubo, would be able to do so. Shui Wubo was the number 1 elder in the Shui family and was at the peak of heavenly wind. In his lifetime he rarely found a match and had never tasted defeat before. Even the Yu family also listed Shui Wubo as the most dangerous person of the Shui family, with the level of danger he posed being above the current family head of the Shui family, Shui Man Kong. If not for the fact that Shui Wubo didn't desire the authority of the family head and only indulged in martial arts, the position of the family head would have changed hands by now. Another flaw of this person was that he was extremely overprotective. He did everything based on what he liked and there was no such thing as logic to him. As long as he liked someone, even if the person was incompetent, he would still support the person fully. It was also because of such an existence in the Shui family that the elders in the Shui family would act in an extreme unbridled fashion. It was also because of him that the 2 younger brothers of the current family head were able to bring the other elders onto their side and build up a faction to oppose Shui Man Kong, especially during this period of time when Shui Qian and Shui Qian failed in their mission and lost many men in Heavenly Star. The 3 brothers used some unknown method to gain the favor of Shui Wubo and sowed discord between the 2 factions, resulting in the internal fracture of the Shui family and the loss of authority of the family head. This was also the reason for the 3 Shui brothers' arrival. Even if Shui Wubo was the number 1 expert of the Shui family and was able to suppress all of their enemies single-handedly, allowing their Shui family to rule over Heavenly Wind, there were still detriments because of his presence. As long as he supported someone and displayed favor towards anyone, a large storm would definitely result because of that. Take this time for an example. Just because he looked at the 3 Shui brothers with favor, the upper echelons of the Shui family began breaking into factions and the strength of the Shui family began to weaken. Of course, this was something that Shui Qianhu and his brothers would never realize. They would only be delighted in the fact that they gained the favor of this ancestor. Upon personally witnessing how the Ling family courtyard had such a powerful strength, these few elders were naturally dumbfounded. The moment they returned to their residence, the first thing that the first elder did was to summon Shui Qianhu. Princess R, is the teen who appeared today the spokesperson of the Ling family? Ling Tian? He does indeed live up to the name of being a demon and is outstanding indeed. Recalling the killing intent that the teen gave off, the first elder still felt a lingering fear in his heart. But if this youth was Ling Tian, then everything would make sense. No, Ling Tian is still being chased around by the martial order medallion owner Justice, and isn't in Skybearing at the moment. Shui Qianhu shook her head. The youth that you just saw is Ling Tian. He is Ling Tian's #1 subordinate and has an extremely high martial arts attainment. However, he rarely shows his face and I have mostly only heard of him and rarely saw him. Perhaps the Ling family viewed this cooperation highly and thus sent him to meet us. At the same time, Shui Qianhu felt doubtful in his heart. The last time she saw him was when they were in the Smoky Thea Tower and his martial arts definitely weren't at such a level. How could he achieve such a huge improvement in his martial arts in just a short few months? It was as though they were two different people. Oh, I never imagined that such an expert would appear in the small Ling family. We must reevaluate the strength of the Ling family after today. Perhaps it is time for us to re-examine the cooperation with the Ling family and there may be a large hope for it to be successful. The first elder then pondered for a moment before saying slowly, how do Ling Tian's martial arts compare to this Ling Jian? Shui Qianhu began comparing both of them in her heart before saying carefully, based on my observations, Ling Tian's martial arts should be on par with his or even slightly stronger. However, he wouldn't be too much stronger. The first elder was shocked. Does Princess mean that Ling Tian isn't any weaker than Ling Jian and may even be superior? Ling Tian's martial arts attainment is extremely high. Even if he isn't superior to this Ling Jian, they would definitely be on par. Just based on the fact that he was able to emerge victorious in an army of 1,000,000 people, his strength can be easily imagined. Shui Qianhu said with certainty. The first elder nodded his head with agreement. This was more reasonable. For Ling Jian to have such martial arts prowess at his young age, it would be akin to a miracle in any other families. Even in the Shui family, there wasn't a genius like Ling Jian at all. If Ling Jian who had not appeared yet had martial arts far above Ling Jian, then it would be far too bewildering and illogical. Based on Princess R's views, what kind of an attitude should we take with regards to the cooperation with the Ling family? At this moment, the first elder realized that Shui Qianhu's words were extremely likely to be true and she, in fact, downplayed the strength of the Ling family. If they were able to work together with the Ling family, it would definitely be a joyous occasion. However, it was too late for regrets now and they could only attempt to salvage the situation. With regards to how they should salvage the situation, Shui Qianhu, who had the most contact with the Ling family, was undoubtedly the most suitable to voice her opinion. Thus, the tone which he used to question Shui Qianhu was extremely gentle and humble. Cooperation? Shui Qianhu chuckled. First elder really knows how to joke. Do you think we are still able to cooperate with them at this moment? The three young noble Shui offended two of Ling Tian's beloved women and his most trusted aide in the first meeting. With Ling Tian being absent, everything in the courtyard is determined by both Ling Jian and Ling Chen. Their daggers were already drawn after today. The present situation is extremely disastrous and if I were to be honest, it would be a good outcome if we do not suffer an attack from the Ling family after today. Don't you think that it is a big joke for us to talk about cooperation under such circumstances? Shui Qianhu, what do you mean by that? Shui Qianhu stood up in anger. Before today, all of us didn't know their status either. Furthermore, it is the dream of all men to chase after a beautiful lady. What is wrong with us displaying our affection? Furthermore, we didn't know that they were Ling Tian's women before this. If the Ling family acts in such a petty manner and uses this excuse to not cooperate with our Shui family, it only goes to show their lack of sincerity. Shui Qianhu by the side also began jeering. That's right. Furthermore, Why didn't you inform us about the Ling family's strength in the first place and allow us to misjudge the strength of the Ling family? The outcome today is a result of that, and you cannot escape blame for sure." After pausing for a while, Shui Qianhai seemed to have thought of something and growled ferociously. "Perhaps you had your own insidious intent. You did that on purpose." Chapter 528, Utility. Shui Qian immediately blew up. "Didn't I explain everything clearly before all of you set off? I even explained who was coming and what their status was. Before all of you even set foot onto the continent, all of you should have known that Ling Tian was Ling Tian's woman and the spokesperson of the Ling family courtyard. However, all of you guys felt that you were descendants of an aristocratic family and looked down on others, completely ignoring what I had said. At the most important moment, you were overwhelmed by your lust and performed such actions that disgraced the family. At the end of the day, you even have the guts to blame me for the matter?" Turning black into white, pathetic, after taking a few heavy breaths, Shui Qian looked at the two of them coldly. "If you were to put yourself in Ling Tian's shoes and Ling Tian was your wife, would you allow anyone else to lay their eyes on her?" There was another thing that Shui Qian didn't say. If Ling Tian was present, the three of you would probably be in pieces by now. "How would you guys be able to sit here and talk to me so comfortably?" Shui Qianzhong rolled his eyes and said unreasonably, "Our Shui family went with the utmost sincerity when going into this negotiation, but the Ling family actually dared to treat us in such a manner and even heavily injured younger brother who, they obviously do not have any sincerity to work with us. They also did not give us any face and even want to collect 50,000 taels of silver every day. Do they think we are fools? We must definitely let the Ling family pay in blood for this humiliation." Shui Qian rolled her eyes and sneered. "No sincerity." The three people in the Ling family with the highest authority arrived at the meeting together. "Is this considered sincerity? Face? Face is something that is given, but you threw it away yourself. If not for someone being unable to control his hands, would he have been seriously injured? Paying them back in blood? If you are capable, go and seek Ling Jian on your own. When you are outside, you didn't even dare to say a single word but are acting in such a majestic manner the moment you are back home. Shui Qianzhong, you truly have guts. If you have the ability, go and find Ling Jian to make him pay in blood right now. I definitely won't stop you from doing that." "Why aren't you going?" "If you dare to go, I will definitely clap my hands in admiration." As for the silver, this was something that the Ling family did not mention at all previously. "If not for the three of you frustrating them, do you think that the Ling family could be bothered with this little bit of silver?" The total value of the products they are allowing the Yu family to sweep up in this operation is 1 million taels of silver at the very least. However, you guys have chosen to provoke the Ling family and they have now drawn a line with us, lest someone turns foolishly conceited and does not even know what their surname is. Shui Qianzhong's face turned red instantly as he retorted, "What kind of a status do I have? How can I negotiate with a servant of some third-grade family? Wouldn't it be too far below my status? In the whole Ling family, only the spokesperson of the Ling family, Ling Tian, would be a match for my status." Haha, a broken bar. Shui Qian was angered to the point she began laughing. "Since all of your statuses are far above theirs and you guys look down on them from the start, why do you want to work together with them right now? Why can't all of you just settle everything on your own? What is the point of cooperating with the Ling family? Why do you still have to look for me? What kind of ideas could I possibly have?" "Enough!" the first elder roared with impatience. "All of you can continue arguing after we take care of the Yu family. What is the point of us fighting among ourselves? Is there any meaning to doing that? What we should be thinking about now is how we can cooperate with the Ling family again. How can we continue cooperating with them under such circumstances? If we cannot continue this cooperation with them, could it be that we are going to go back empty-handed?" The moment the first elder mentioned returning empty-handed, the arguing parties had shut up immediately. This time, even Shui Qianzhong and the rest understood that after witnessing the strength of the Ling family, cooperating with the Ling family was the most beneficial action for them. If the Ling family were to reject the cooperation with the Shui family, their Shui family would only be left with two options. They could either launch an all-out attack and take over all of the Ling family's forces, or they could leave in defeat. There wasn't a third option for them. However, Was it possible for them to even take over the Ling family? Was it possible? Was it realistic? In actual fact, all the members of the Shui family who had come to Heavenly Star came with such an intention. Wouldn't it be an easy matter for them to capture a small third-rate family? But after witnessing the splendor of Ling Jian's sword, all of them were woken up from their daydream. What a joke! With such an expert present in the Ling family, it would be extremely good if the Ling family did not try to swallow them. How can they even think about swallowing the forces of the Ling family? This plan of theirs had naturally died in their hearts. But to leave in defeat? Wouldn't the lot of them become a big joke? This would be even worse than Shui Qianhuan's failure. Traveling more than 10,000 miles and returning without doing anything? If the three of them were to do that, their status as a prospective successor would probably be taken away as well. On top of that, their outcome would definitely be far worse than Shui Qianhuan. At the very least, Shui Qianhuan had fought and had been seriously injured. As for the three of them, they did not even do a single thing. Well, it wasn't accurate to say that they did not do a single thing. They had offended a third-rate family in Heavenly Star. While it wasn't really a big deal, the only problem was the fact that this third-rate family had at least one expert at the level of Shui Wubo. Furthermore, their old enemy was still watching them ferociously from the side. Even if they wanted to leave the continent, they wouldn't necessarily be able to leave the continent safely or broken bar. In fact, if they were to think about it carefully, the Yu family was in existence on the same level as their Shui family. However, even the Yu family did not think about swallowing the Ling family but only dared to take a bunch of silver and gold when they left. How could an outsider like them possibly rule over Skybearing so easily? However, even if they were to realize all of these right now, was there even a meaning to it? Now that things have developed to such a point, this old man can only throw this old face of mine and make a personal trip to the Ling family courtyard. Princess, can I request for you to accompany me? The matters of the family are still the most important. Can I hope for Princess to put aside your prejudice for the time being? The first elder let out a long sigh and rolled his eyes at the three Shui brothers. If not for these three useless disciples, how would they be placed in such a difficult position and have to lower their pride? Qian'er is willing to listen to elders' instructions and place her family's benefits above all else. Shui Qian'er said helplessly. At the same time, she also felt elated in her heart. If she could make use of this opportunity to suppress the three Shui brothers and make some contribution to the family, her family might overlook the mistakes of her brother when they return. At the very least, she would be able to help her father reduce the pressure that he was facing. In the secret chamber of the Ling family courtyard, 4 people were standing there with an odd expression on their faces. Of the 4 of them, 3 of the girls were looking at Ling Jian with a look like they had a headache. However, Ling Jian's expression looked extremely innocent and he even had a self-righteous look on his face. Finally, Ling Tian let out a sigh and shook her head helplessly. What do you guys think about the matters today? Do you think that it is necessary for us to salvage matters? Ling Jian chuckled and said in a cool manner, there is no need to think about anything. Why is there a need to salvage the situation? Settling them all with a single sword is the right way to take care of these scums, lest young noble gets frustrated when he sees them. Ling Chen, Yu Bingyan and Li Zhu looked at each other with the urge to give Ling Jian a kick to the face. Yu Bingyan had just left her seclusion and naturally wasn't clear about what had just happened. She only understood the rough situation through the description of the other 2 girls. She then shook her head and said, I believe that the Shui family would not accept a cooperation under such circumstances. As a 1,000-year-old family, they would have the prestige and pride of a 1,000-year-old family. Now that the Shui family had fallen out with the Ling family, how would they put down their pride and work together with the Ling family again? I think that it is best for us to make preparations to prepare for the Shui family's revenge. Not necessarily. Ling Chen and Li Zhu shook their heads. While Ling Jian's action was a little rash today, even if Ling Jian could suppress his anger, the 2 of us would have taken action for sure. With the performance of those 3 B Street RDS, it was inevitable for the meeting to fail. Thus, Ling Jian did not do anything wrong and it was definitely necessary. Ling Chen nodded her head. That's right, What Jian did wasn't necessarily a bad thing. The only reason why the Shui family dared to act in such an unbridled manner is because they did not understand our strength and thus did not respect us. Jian's action would not ruin matters but only increase the chips we have to bargain with the Shui family. This is something extremely beneficial to us. The Shui family will certainly not retreat, but there is something that Jian is wrong about. What thing? Ling Tian said gloomily. You said that the young noble would be frustrated because of them. This is where you are wrong, Ling Tian said with a smile. Li Zu never imagined that Ling Tian would have the same thoughts as her and burst out laughing. That's right. If Danj returns and sees the three Shui brothers, he will definitely be overjoyed. Yu Bingyan pondered for a moment and finally understood what the two girls meant. Two elder sisters are trying to say that these three despicable fellows are still of some worth? That's right, Ling Tian and Li Zu replied together and said with a weird laugh, to the Shui family, these three fellows will be incapable of accomplishing anything and will only ruin everything. But to us, the three of them are extremely rare commodities. Ling Jian snorted and was a little bit depressed. Wouldn't it be easier to kill them with a single saw or a broken bar? Isn't it better than going around in circles? Didn't young noble say that one should reason with the size of his fist? Ling Tian glared at Ling Jian. You only know how to fight and kill. Young noble said many other things. Why aren't you talking about his other sayings? How many times did young noble warn you to use your brain? Why are you still a boorish brute? Ling Jian grunted and said, talking about coming up with plans and scheming. Young noble would naturally be stronger than anyone in the world. Furthermore, there is still the few of you in that villa Ming Liege to come up with schemes for the young noble. I am only the young noble's sharpest sword and I will do whatever the young noble commands. I will kill whoever the young noble asks me to kill. The only thing I am concerned about is whether or not I am able to complete my mission and not how I should complete my mission. I do not need to care about the process of the mission either. Young noble had once said that everyone needs to find their own position and my position would be to slaughter. Thank you for your continued following. Please support us by subscribe to encourage our continued creation. And press the bell to notify new chapter from us. Thank you.